Alright, so last time we cleaned up our code a little bit and we got it so that we're using the correct form of input here, and we made these variables private, so because that's what you're supposed to do. And we also went and made it so that inside of the start function, which runs once when the instance first starts up, meaning that the player itself first appears there with this player controller script. It runs this once. It goes, okay, where's my rigid body and where's my animator? And I have those components, right? And it returns those and sets these equal to them. So we have it set up now where we got all that stuff going on. Now let's talk about enumerators. Now, enumerators are amazingly powerful. So we're going to say private enum, let's say months. Right? And then you can do something like this. Okay, so I've finished making all these months over here, right? So private months, or it doesn't matter what you name this, so I'm gonna name it polywag, whatever that is, equals months dot, it's currently what? No, it's actually November right now, so we're gonna say nov. Now, what did I just do here? You see, private enum months, this is a numerator, creates something that basically makes this set up so that it can be a certain list of things. Months can only be one of these things. Now, we set up this polywag, which is a months type, just like we set up an anim, that's an animator. That means that it has to be set up so that it has to be equivalent to one of these. Right now, polywag is equivalent to the month of November, right? But say that polywag, a month goes by in polywag world, and then in that case, we can be like, okay, well, actually, polywag equals months dot December. It's now a month later, right? So as you can see, it's always equivalent to one of these 12 options. It can never be anything outside of here. And why is this important? Well, if you want to keep track of your months, if you're making a calendar or something, you can literally have it so that it has to be equivalent to one of these things at all times, and you can cycle through them. Each one of these things also has a value, 0, 1, 2. Actually, it's showing it on that screen right there, 0, 1, 11. So you can actually have a number set up for that as well, right? So what's that mean for you inside of this instance is we can create what I like to call, well, what everybody likes to call a finite state machine. So instead of having a month system, let's actually write in state. And you do these curly brackets because this is what you do when you're setting up an enum. And then you can name every state. It doesn't matter what you name it. And then you do a comma in between the states. And as you can see, you can separate out and you can make as many as you want. Okay, that's how you make an enumerator, how you set up the type at least. So we have the state right there. Let's start going through these. Idle, run. That's running, let's say. Those are two basic states that we have right now. Oh, and we're going to want to jump in because that's what we're building in now. Okay, so we're going to have those three states, and then this game's going to know what state it's in. Now, you don't have to name it the same thing. I just tried to show you that with polywag, but I actually like to call it state while I'm building this. And our default state is going to be state.idle. Okay? Right now we have this running so that when the fox is in the air and stuff, he can still run around. It's still animating the run. And as soon as we let go of a key, that's the only time that he stops running. But like, honestly, like, should he stop running at that point? Like how long he's like sliding for, you know? And so the animator right now doesn't have any way to know like what state he's in because we're not coding that in. But now that we're starting to code it in, now that we can set it up so that like we'll know what state he's in at all times, we can program it so that like certain things only happen when he's in certain states. All right, so now we're going to start programming in what happens as we're doing different things inside the game. And this is pretty important because we're going to want the animations to be set up correctly and to go with it. And you got to remember, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. That's so. If we go into Unity over here, we're going to actually want to change this parameter right here. We're going to get rid of it. We're deleting this. We're not going to run that way anymore. and we're going to add a new parameter, an integer, and we're calling state, right? And now, if state equals, and then what's running equal to again? I don't remember. You go over here to running, it's 1. If state equals 1, then we'll go into running. And if state equals, I actually remember this time, it's going to be equals to 0. Then we're going to go back to idle. If you don't remember, just go over here, hover over to idle. Oh, it's 0. Okay. So now, as you see, it's going to be able to set it up so that the state is actually controlling which animations it's inside of right there, right? So instead of having this all update inside of here, we're going to take this out, and we're going to take this out. Okay? We're going to base a whole system here on velocity. You guys ready for this? So let's make a whole new function here. You can change this to anything. It's going to be private. It's not going to return anything, so it's void. And it's going to be, and we can call it a lot of different things, but we're going to say state switch, or state tapping, state switch. And we're just going to call it state switch for now. We might name it something better later. That's a horrible name, but we're going to call it state switch. Now, before we forget, we're going to actually want to run state switch in here. Okay? So we can run state switch in here, and that's what that does. So like you say state switch in here, just like all these other bits of code run inside of here by putting it in. A good example is this get component. This is a pretty good function over here that works pretty much the same way. We're just making our own this time. This cleans up your code a little bit and it makes it a lot easier to read. So right now there's nothing that's making so that your state's doing anything. We're going to base this on velocity. So, well, you know what? Let's call it velocity state. Velocity state. State velocity? Velocity state. Let's call it that. That sounds like a much better name. Now, I switch that over and it automatically redlines this one for me. You can actually hit Control RR as well, and it'll actually rename everything that's inside there, but you have to do it before. So if I go state switch, or state switch, so instead of getting that error, you go Control RR on it, velocity state, apply, and ta-da! It renamed it inside the whole script for us. Okay, so we're going to go if rb.velocity .x is greater than 0, and we're going to put a little safety margin there, so let's say 0.1, and then by hitting these two dashes you can actually create a comment, and I like to comment in my code so it makes it easier to read. We're going to start doing that more and more as time goes on, so it basically adds a note to your code that the game doesn't read. It doesn't run as a script. So we're going to say if the velocity is greater than 1 inside the x-axis, that means we're going right. Else if rb.velocity.y is less than 0.1. You see it's counting them as doubles right now. Put the F after these. It's not going to be able to compare them all that well. Then we're going left. Now this will make it so that we're going right and we're going left. Okay? Now the thing is, I only want these two things right here to be running. I only wanted to know about us going right or going left if something else is going on. Now this is just how you figure out whether it's going right or going left. The thing is, we don't really need to do it this way because we're automatically changing the way that the picture scales up here. So this is how you would want to do it if that, but there's actually a better way to go about this. Oh, this should have been X. I don't know what I was thinking. There's actually a better way to go about this. Here's what you want to do. mathf.absolute. Though this is a class again, and absolute is a function that returns the absolute number of this. Okay, so this returns an absolute number of this float, meaning that it's always going to be positive. So if it has any value at all above 0.1, and you can actually turn in the number on this too. It's mathf.epsilon. Yeah, .epsilon. You can use that. That's basically the smallest possible number that it could be. So it's better than putting 0, because 0 is such a, it's a, 0 is very tiny. Like, what if you have 0.0001, Then you're moving instead of doing it this way. So we're going to do it that way instead. This will make it so that we know that if we're moving at all, then we know that the state equals state.running, right? However, this is actually going to be a else if, because we don't want it to have the state.running if we happen to be jumping. So if state equals state.jumping, then we check for other things instead. And so right now, so if the state is equivalent to state.jumping, then we're not even going to check to see if there's an x velocity at all. Okay? And of course we need to put inside the jumping here, state equals state.jumping, which will give us, which will make it so that the game knows that we're jumping when we're jumping, right? So, oh, and something didn't run right. I probably messed up on something. Oh, that's inside of the set bool. So where did I do that? Oh, right here. We're gonna get rid of that as well, because animate, that doesn't exist anymore. We don't have that parameter. Let's try this again. So now we don't animate at all, but the system will know whether or not we are in the jumping state or the running state, right? So we've gone backwards quite a bit. So this thing needs to know if we're running or not. So why is this not updating to the animator is the big question. That's pretty simple. We want it to update to the animator right below this. We're going to make it built into a script later on, but for now we're just going to put it in right here. We're going to go anim.setInteger, and remember, we don't know the integer's ID, but we sure know the string name, which is just state. We're going to set that to the value of our state, so it's going to be our state. Right now, you're going to see over here after I hit this mark here, it's saying, oh wait, that can't be converted to an integer. The truth is, it can be converted to an integer. You just have to put this in front of it, because it is a number. Don't forget that these are all numbers on here, right? 0, 1, 2. So you can cast it as an integer on there. Okay. So now that we're doing that, as you can see, when I push the left to right button, it switches the state to running, and then it runs there. Now the problem is it never doesn't run. It never has an idle animation. This thing would actually automatically switch it to idle if it had that function going for it. So we're going to write else if. We're at this point right here where he's moving basically if this number is basically bigger than nothing. So the thing is, inside the game, we're having him, he's accelerating extremely quick, so he's going from 0 to something pretty fast. 0 to something bigger than epsilon pretty quick, right? And you see how he's like running a lot there at the end? And he's never switching idle. We're going to want him to switch there. So we're going to put an else statement inside of here. And we're going to go to state equals state dot idle, right? And this system will switch it automatically to whatever state that we're inside of. And you remember we set it up in the animator over here that it will go from run to idle if the state is equivalent to 0, which the idle state happens to be, right? So right now, if we run this and he's running, you'll see once he actually stops there completely, once the number's basically mathf.epsilon, which is basically 0, he actually goes there, stops. The thing is, I actually kind of like a little bit of a slide there at the end. So let's actually make this number something different. Let's go to like 2f, right? Try it out. You're gonna do a lot of trial and error while you're building a game. So let's try it. So that means that he has to actually be moving at 2f. Now he goes from 0 to above 2f like instantly, so the run will happen instantaneously. But when he's stopping, when he goes below 2f is when that else statement will kick in. And we'll go there, and as you can see, he actually slides just a little bit there at the end. Creates that cool little effect, right? It's not based on when we let go of the key anymore. It's actually based on his own velocity, which is a lot more fun. And creates this awesome effect. So now that we have a running and idle animation within a state machine, we will eventually be making, but now we have a problem where, because I'm jumping, it's setting the state to jump, but there doesn't happen to be any jump animations is one of the problems, and the system has nothing to do once it's in jump to switch it back to idle or anything. So we're going to have to figure that out in the next video. We're going to have to make the jump a little bit more fancy. But for now, I think that's all that we're going to do inside this one. Remember, if you like the video, please hit the like button below, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you get all these free tutorials that I keep on releasing. And leave me a comment. This is probably the most important part, actually. Please leave me a comment or any kind of feedback below. Let me know what you would like to be different to better. What you would like for the next tutorial series to be, because I'm already working on it probably at the point that you're seeing this. I made this whole series before I released a single video. So just let me know, because I want to crank them out. All right. I will see you next time. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Have a great day.